Hello, beautiful loved ones, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about self-image. Self-image, meaning you're responsible for how you view yourself. And sometimes, the world and the people around us have a way of projecting their view of themselves onto us, and we absorb it, and we tend to take on the task of believing the negativity in other people that they project on us, and we take it upon ourselves to make it true for ourselves. So hopefully I can encourage somebody today with just a snippet of my story and the things I dealt with growing up with not having enough in my reserve to believe myself into the person that God made me to be. Very early on in life, I felt like I had a good foundation. I was raised in a home with two parents. My father was foreign and my mom was from down south. And, I went through some hard times as a child, the youngest of three in the home. And I didn't really know where I fit in a lot of places. I was the youngest. My sisters were able to do a lot more for themselves as they had 2 and 4 years older or more age on them than I did. So in school, I was raised as a Christian kid, and I wasn't able to listen to a lot of the music that other kids were listening to. I felt left out of the in crowd because I didn't wear growing up in Detroit in the 80s, 90s, kids were into name brand fashion back then. And I'm wearing Kmart and Payless. My parents didn't put a lot into what we put on. They put a lot to what we put in. So we were church going kids, and I just didn't feel like I fit in any dynamic in the world around me. And I remember telling my mom, "Hey, Mom, I'm being bullied. I'm being laughed at, picked on, whatever you want to call it." I was a kid with a teaspoon of hair, big forehead, big lips, wide nose. But at home, I'm safe. I'm the daddy's girl. You know what I'm saying? But in school and the world around me, I don't fit in. And I remember telling my mom that. She goes, "Well, darling, they picked on Jesus. I was bullied as a kid." And I'm like, okay. Like, what can I do with that information? It really didn't help and or heal me at the time. So we're going to get into what it takes to really get to a point where you can accept yourself, love yourself, build yourself, and trust you. So here we go. So with a little bit of my backstory, I carried the weight of doubt about who I was and my self-image onto about maybe high school. When I started to grow into my looks and started to understand my gifts and talents, and I was getting hired to model, and I'm like, wow, I don't look like I used to look, and that can make you a little arrogant sometimes. But people around me didn't really know why at around that age when I stepped into the room, I owned it. They didn't understand why, I had to push the envelope just a little bit, not to be seen, but to get people up off of me. And it made me a little, even though I was brittle, it made me a little bolder. I was brittle from the bricks that were thrown at me for not being in the in crowd coming up. So by the time I was around 14, 15, I'm starting to come into my own. I'm starting to love myself a little bit more. So prior to that change, I remember talking to myself in the mirror, and I said, "Hey, this is your world. You're in it. You came into it by yourself, and you're going to die by yourself. So you might as well figure out what's going to make you happy. What is happiness?" And I had to self-define happiness. Happiness at that point to me was being accepted by me. But when you're going through a metamorphosis at that age, you really don't understand chemically what's going on in your brain. You don't really understand your puberty body yet. But from the things that I attached myself to, I started to learn how to build on those things and make it my own or put my own twist on it. And that made a lot of people uncomfortable. But by that time, being broken and brittle from other people mistreating me, I came across as a little brash and mean. But I would be nice to people that I feel like that didn't do anything to me. I would be helpful and harmless and sweet, but I was a ticking time bomb. Anytime somebody said something wrong to me, I was ready to jump the fence like a rabid dog and hop on somebody. Okay, I was ready for that because of what other people did to me. But by the time, I took the keys back to my existence, and I went back to day one when I could remember the first time I was bullied, the first time I was laughed at or kicked out of the circle and nobody wanted to sit next to me because I didn't have the newest Trapper Keeper and the newest, what do you call those little lunch pails and all that stuff was in back then. You had to have, the newest whatever going to elementary school, middle school in Detroit. And I would talk to my mom and she's like, well, I came from humble beginnings. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. She had really good advice, but it was not relatable at that time. And the way that she put it to me was not curing the situation then. So I had to, and I'm glad that happened. I learned later in life that things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So by the time I came into my own and I started to realize that it's just me and God on this journey, all bets were off. Doors started to open for me. I started to hone in on my gifts and talents, and I started to own who I was. And that's not easy for a lot of people. I still took counseling later on in life, and because there were things that I needed an outside perspective on. Being raised in the church, I'm thinking that's the end all be all, but I learned that there's still people that's out here trying to heal people, and they are still broken in some areas themselves. So my main point and objective here today is to be transparent. That's my story, and I'm telling it. So back to the subject at hand, self-image. What I learned after having children and giving them the tools to work with and for themselves, I had to overcome a lot to get to the point where I can say my kids are going to know what a safe place is. When they come home from school, if they're bullied, I'm going to break it down to them psychologically why people bully. That was not given to me. I'm going to break down why they bully and why they don't have the power to tear you down unless you give them the keys to that vehicle. Unless you give them ownership over your emotions and your mindset. So, I was married at one point, and I'm raising 2 black boys in the city of Detroit. As a police officer, I've seen what, hell looks like on earth. So I just had to get to the point where I said it starts with yourself. You have to get to know who you are, know your likes and dislikes, and break it down to a point where it's just one minuscule objective. It may seem big on a larger scale, but it's really love. Love who you are. And once you can figure out who you are, that one little button, nobody can break into that safe and take the goods. Nobody can break into who you are unless you give them that combination. So I had to train myself every day to show up. If I want an Afro Puffs, I'm going to wear Afro Puffs. If I want to come outside with my feet ashy, I'm going to do that. If you got something to say about it, that's your problem, because this is my body. This is me. But I dealt with so much, and I know that there's people out here hurting today because of the images on social media to be this Full package, honey. I'm not saying go out here busted and bold just because, but you're going to have off days, you know. And I'm speaking to the younger crowd on this too. You know, there's children with eating issues, and if you're uncomfortable with how you look because that's the imposition you put on you, then that's different. If you're feeling some kind of way because of what somebody else put on you, that's a whole different monster. So I'm speaking to you to get you to understand that you are responsible for self. You are responsible for putting your best foot forward for yourself because you love you, not because you want somebody else to love you, because you're never going to get that, darling. You're never going to get anybody to love you because the energy that you emit is going to come back to you. So if you don't love yourself, there are watchers out here. There are people that are so low within themselves that they look for people that may have low self-esteem so they can ride on their back, get their needs met, and keep you underfoot. So I'm talking to you today about your self-power, self-empowerment. Understand that God is in you. You are a living, breathing being with the universe, full universe at your fingertips, and is there for the asking. You came in this world as a single being. I don't care if you was born as a twin, whatever. You are your own person, and you don't want to wait until it's too late when you put in that box by yourself in the ground. So love yourself. Set a standard for yourself. The standard on Instagram, baby, ain't it. The standard of self-care starts with self. It may be, okay, I want my hair straighter. Why? So it's more manageable. Oh, I don't care about my hair. I want to wear twists or afros or dreadlocks. Do what makes you comfortable, not because of the quote-unquote standards of beauty that's out here now. If you wear makeup, baby, wear it because that's your expression of art on your canvas, your face. People are going to talk about, we live in an age right now where you can't go outside without somebody waiting for you to make a mistake so they can snap a picture or shoot a video of you and make a few dollars on the internet at your expense. So I'm talking to you to be strong. Be strong in your mind. Have a strong constitution about yourself. It's all about consciousness and awareness. Be conscious that you only get this one life. Be conscious that you only get this one vessel. Take care of it, not because you want somebody to look at you and say, oh, she's pretty or she's fine or he's pretty handsome or whatever. Take care of it because you want to keep your heart ticking in the smoothest condition. You want to keep your body, your vehicle running great. Some of us take care of our cars better than we take care of our bodies, honey. And I'm saying that too because I've been laughed at and picked on for becoming vegan. I'm used to being kicked out of the in crowd, honey. I love being a trailblazer and being in my own lane. And it wasn't easy to get here. It took some maturity, some tears, some shedding off, some waking up to get to this point. So to my young people that's still trying to figure out life a little bit, you're not going to have all the answers right now. But I want you to be self-aware and awake and question your motives moving forward. Why are you doing this? You will never make anybody else happy. Never make anybody else love you. You cannot do that. Either they're going to organically and genuinely love you, or all bets are off, my dear. You got to love yourself. What is love? Being patient with yourself, forgiving yourself, accepting yourself, doing what's best for you. So I love you, and I'm here to help. I'm going to be making more videos, being transparent, telling my story, my journey to get a community around us to keep people from committing suicide and doing self-defeating actions. We need to raise our vibration here, y'all. It's a different day and age. And once we have one thing against us or one thing going for us, sometimes it seems like it's two things against us. So you have to learn how to be more than a conqueror. And what's there left to conquer after you've conquered something? You need to become victorious so it can stick and stay. So you don't keep repeating the same cycles and forcing, trauma onto the next generation, your children, if you decide to have any. So, good vibes to you all. Thank you for hanging out with me today. This is just a little short snippet of what we'll be digging into a little bit deeper. As a former police officer, motivational speaker, life coach, I'm not here to preach at you. I'm here to talk to you and walk with you. God bless you. Thank you for listening in. Good vibes to you all until we meet again.